Hey, thanks for checking out the Verse podcast today. It is a daily pursuit to uncover what the Bible really says. And today we are diving into Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25. Before we get into the meat of what we're talking about today, I want to pause for a second, and I actually want us to do something together. And we're going to breathe together, a deep breath. I'll do it with you. We're going to take a deep breath, and as we do, pay attention to what is weighing on your heart when you do. What comes to mind? So let's breathe together and think about that thing. Maybe a little difficult, but let's do it together. Here we go. Maybe one more time. Here we go. What comes to mind? What is weighing on your heart? I want to encourage you to do this before we dive into today's scripture. Share those concerns with God. Today we're reading from Proverbs and how we can help others overcome the weight of anxiety. Like we do every episode, before we read the scripture, it's important that we understand the context in which it was written. So not just biblical context, scriptural context of what was going on in scriptures and how that can apply to different areas of scripture, but what was going on culturally at the time, what was going on historically, who wrote it, why it was written, who the intended audience was. This is so vital when we read and study the Bible, and so important. So for Proverbs today, Proverbs 12:25, King Solomon is who we're talking about, the son of King David, who is credited with writing the book of Proverbs. At least we know chapters 1 to 29, including the chapter we read from today. Solomon's reign as king happened from 970 to 931 BC, and it represented the peak of prosperity for the nation of Israel. The Bible attests to Solomon's wisdom and that he was a collector of wise sayings, and Proverbs is his collection. I noted this as I was studying, that Proverbs is considered one of the most neglected books in the Bible, meaning we don't read it or refer to it all that much as the others. But it is a key piece of scripture. It's a book about wisdom, and not wisdom as we think of it in gaining knowledge and intellect, but the ability to apply wisdom to reality. Don't we all want a little bit of that? That's what the Hebrew word for wisdom means. That wisdom is humility, a healthy fear of the Lord, living by God's standards. According to Proverbs, you become wise when you apply God's principles to your practical decision-making. And when you do, you can live life the way God meant it to be lived. So we're going to read just one verse here together. Let's prepare to read Proverbs 12:25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. Every single one of us is susceptible to anxiety because life's hard. There's difficulties in life. Anxiety at its root is fear over a possible outcome. That fear weighs on our hearts. The heart is the seat for the soul itself. And when anxiety seizes your spirit, it depresses you. It keeps you down. The dread of adversity or grief or sorrow, when it gets into your heart, it's like a literal weight that drags you down. It drags you to a place where you can't take any pleasure or enjoyment or comfort in anything. What does Proverbs say that we can do about it? We, as people, are given power by God. The practical way to love and to care for one another, for our friends, people who are going through anxiety, is to offer our words. Words that cheer up the heart of someone who is in that place. What can you say today that makes someone glad? God has given us the ability to turn a broken spirit into a joyful heart with our words. How incredible. I know it challenged me when I read this. And it's challenged me that when I have the ability to give someone a good word, I must take it. And to stay silent is not an option. So we thought about what was weighing on our hearts, and maybe that's heavy right now. I hope that this message today, this study into Proverbs, is your encouragement, is a good word that can help make you glad, lift the weight of anxiety a little bit. If you're in a good place right now, who do you know who's going through something right now, and who can you bless with your words? I'd encourage you to do it. We're going to take a minute or two, like we do every podcast, to sit and reflect on what we learned today and what we read and what God revealed to us through his scripture. We're going to do that, and then we'll come back on the other side. Well, my friends, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to the Versed podcast. I don't take it for granted that you've decided to click on this podcast today, and I'm so grateful for that. Because I make no claim to be a teacher or a preacher or any of that, but simply just a student of the Bible on this journey with you, trying to understand more about what it says and study it. I have included all the resources I use in my study linked in the show notes, so I encourage you to check that out if you'd like to do some further study on your own. A link to my social media is there as well. I'd love to connect with you and possibly answer any questions you have, or use those questions as we build future episodes here together on the Versed podcast. Again, so grateful for you all. Thanks for listening today. It is my prayer that hope was made a little bit louder in your life today, and that you can share that with others. Have a great day. We'll talk tomorrow.